Hi guys, how you going? This is Carly Canham. I'm Carly Canham and I'm from Sabre Experience Education Forum. And today we are going to be running through our Age Defy from our Vero K-PAK colours. So this is really going to be a quickie but a goodie for you guys out there, and hopefully we can answer all your questions when it comes to using Age Defy. So Age Defy, first of all, I'm just going to show you what we have in our range in the likes of colours. In addition to that, we also have a beautiful NB, which I'll be showing you in a little while, on our beautiful model Jane. So that's to come. So I guess let's get started. I'm just going to pop this one down. So Age Defy. So let's talk about Age Defy and who is it designed for. So Age Defy is for our clients that are 50% plus grey. So what we ultimately want to do is we want to obviously give great coverage. It's double pigmented as well. So these colours have been formulated and made for resistant hair. Okay, so they're for clients with dull, flat, grey hair. They're for clients with coarse, wiry hair. You don't actually have to only use it on grey clients as well, guys. But because of it being formulated for grey hair, just keep in mind that you will need to alter your formula. Okay, so throughout this, please ask questions. Say hi, drop us some lines and likes and thumbs up and everything else. But yeah, so you can use it on hair that is not grey. You just need to go a shade lighter and be mindful that the colour can actually go one level darker and it can also go brighter. So you've got to be careful, okay? Outside of that, it will give beautiful shine. Okay, so how does that work? So when it comes to our technology, the difference between Vero K-PAK Color and Age Defy is that Age Defy has also not only our award-winning Quadramine complex technology, which is our inbuilt reconstructor across the range, it also has a 3 defense technology. Okay, so our 3 defense technology is a deep penetrating technology which is designed and full of really nice nourishing ingredients. We have our amino acids, we have our biomimetic ceramides. I always look, guys.
That's a mouthful, that one.
I know.
Biomimetic.
My mum was like, mimetic ceramides. So, hey, you can put your own little slant on that. And then we have our protective lipids. So the ceramides, what they do is they help to glue the cuticle down. So you're getting a smoother and softer finish. So what you can expect out of Age Defy is that not only are you going to get really good grey coverage, but you're going to get amazing shine. So it is going to make aged hair, dull hair feel younger, look younger, and feel softer. And that's what you will love about it. All right. So whenever we're dealing with Age Defy and whenever we're dealing with grey hair, the things that we need to remember when it comes to how do we cover grey hair? Okay, so we all know that grey hair can be a bit of a nightmare. It's problematic, it's resistant. Sometimes, and most of the times we're not dealing with 100% grey all over the hair. There's variations and everything that we need to take into consideration. So the steps that we want to look at when we're covering grey hair are as follows. So we're going to keep it nice, sweet, and simple for you guys. So step 1, we need to determine the natural level. Okay, so we need to determine the natural level of the pigmented hair that's amongst the grey hair. We also need to determine the percentage of grey hair when we're covering grey. Okay, so in doing this, whenever I'm in salon, I always get my my clients to go through and do a full examination of the head globally, because we don't always have, or let's be honest, we never have a uniformed grey head. Okay. From there, we want to determine what is the desired level. Okay, so what are they wanting to achieve? What is their target shade? What is their target color? What is their target level? All right, so look at the colors, and I generally will pull out my shade guide and I say exactly that it is a shade guide. Okay, so everyone's hair texture, whether they're cool underlining or warm underlining, will always affect the end result. So the shade guide is exactly that, a guide in which we use to help, guide our clients in selecting colour. So we want to find out, what their desired target shade and level is, okay? We then need to consider the underlying pigment, okay? So do we want to enhance that whenever we're going for our brighter colours, or do we want to and need to neutralise that? So when we're working with our Age Defy as well, what I want you to remember is it's not recommended, guys, to be trying to get grey coverage and lighten more than 2 levels, okay? Because we run into an area where if we're trying to lighten beyond that and there is also pigmented hair, the pigmented hair will then become really warm. And then if we're then neutralizing colors like with our NN and our NAs, we run the risk of going really matte and cool on those non-pigmented grey areas, okay? So just keep that in mind when you're selecting your colors and when you're working with your clients. From there as well, our step 4 is to determine basically, what do you want to do? Where are we going? Neutralizing, enhancing. And then we have our step 5, our developer. So it is highly recommended whenever you're going to be using Age Defy that we use for the best optimum coverage, 20 volt, okay? So that's what we would recommend. However, if you wanted more of a grey blend and deposit, you can use 10 volt. We don't really see the need for using 30 volt. It would do its job on 20, okay? So I've never used 30 volt myself. It's always been 20 or 10, depending on, again, what end result I'm chasing. So if Abby, my beautiful Abby friend, our sister, comes here, you can see here we have our selection. So we always have our level first. So that is the depth of the colour. And then we have our reflect after. So we have our NN series, NA, natural ash, NPA. So NPAs are amazing when you're actually lightening and neutralising, because these guys are quite powerful and very cool. The P actually stands for platinum, which is blue, so it's a double blue, which is great when we're refining that unwanted warmth. We then have an NG, so a natural gold. We have our gold brown series, beige gold, natural beige, or natural brown, and then we have our mochas. And look, I could go on. As you can see, the colours kind of speak for themselves. We have our coppers and our reds, okay? So when we're using these colours and when we're selecting these colours, grey with Age Defy, you'll find that a lot of these will give you 100% grey coverage. Now, the ones in which I would recommend using natural, so treat it like you would whenever you're doing any type of grey coverage, like say even with Vero K-PAK colours, when you're dealing with grey, we know that we need, when we're looking to anchor and hold on to colour and not go too translucent, we need natural, okay? So the natural is your base, and that will then hold the colour in. So what I would advise when you're using your reds and your coppers and your brighter series that don't have a natural in there, I would either go in, say, for example, if I was chasing a copper, I would go in with my GC or CG, and then as my base and my natural, I would use my NG. If I was to use my NN, guys, that would then neutralize my copper, and I don't want to do that. So I don't want to, dull down my warmth. I just want to get better coverage, and that's when I'd probably go 50-50 with that.
Just got a question here, Charles. So we have, could you use Vero Glaze for demi blending?
Yeah, definitely. Go for it. That's a good idea. Glaze is great, guys. But remember, when you're doing your glaze as well, we always mix up our colour and we let it sit for 5 minutes so the ammonia can dissipate. So therefore, we're not getting lift. Okay, so a 5-minute rest time before application. Yeah?
Like making a cake.
Yeah. Yeah, that's it. I was about to say shake before you bake, but you kind of don't shake, you more like. Yeah, so we won't go there. That'll be the next segment, guys. Okay, so moving on from there. So does anyone else have any questions in regards to this? So if we were going with the reds, I would then not use my NG because of the gold and red and gold. Then we start altering our red into a copper red, because what does red and gold make, guys? Copper.
I feel like she's just directing it at me.
So yeah, I'm like waiting for it back. Yeah, so copper. So we wouldn't put our NG with our coppers. We want to put we would put our NGs with our coppers and our NN with our reds. Okay. Cool.
Awesome.
Cool. Okay. So when we're talking about greys, and now we're talking about problematic greys. So I'm sure you guys have come across that time where, you know, people are chasing more of a blanket cover or more of an opaque color. When you're doing that, we actually have an additive that we can help to achieve that. So we have a thing called our grey controller. Has anyone used grey controller before?
We have a hot tip. Age Defy additives are your secret weapon.
Yay! Yeah. And that's exactly right, guys. So with our hot tip and our Age Defy, our grey controller, which is this guy here, what we want to do is, I'll actually read this formula out so it makes it easier for you, but from 25 to 50% grey, you go in with your Age Defy formula being of 60 mils, your grey controller being 10 mils, with your peroxide being 60 mils, and that's 20 vol. Okay, so now if we're dealing with resistant grey hair, we can go on with 50% to 100% grey. We go in with our Vero K-PAK Age Defy being 45 mils and our grey controller being 15 mils. Our developer now is 60 mils of 20 vol. Okay, now when you're on a levels 8 and 9, you might actually need to look at using less grey controller, because grey controller is actually a level 6 violet, so it does add a little bit of depth in the colour too, guys. Okay, but that's what gives us our tip we need to get that coverage. Does anyone have any questions outside that? So with no?
We're all good at the moment.
Cool. So then we have our clear. So our clear is like any other clear within our ranges. Our clear can be used as a standalone treatment. So say if a client has come in, the color is faded, they're actually in love with the color, but their hair is starting to feel a little bit dull. So we just want to add shine, and that's what we would do. We would do our clear, and we would go in mixing ratio 1:1 with either 10 vol, or you could even use your glaze. Okay. You can also add your clear into your mix in order to dilute the color for when you're doing color balancing. So it just helps to make that color go half shade to one shade lighter.
Okay, we've got another question, Carls. Yeah. So can you use grey controller with standard Vero color?
Yeah, I can't see why not. Give it a go. So with the Age Defy and Vero K-PAK colors, they are intermixable. So say if you felt that NN was a little bit too matte, you could actually use your Vero K-PAK N mixed with your Age Defy colors, or customize your own formulas, guys. Yeah.
Great.
Cool. Cool. Okay, so our mixing ratio, for a recap, our mixing ratio is 1:1 when using Age Defy. So that's 1 part cream color to 1 part developer. Okay. Also, when using Age Defy, our timing is 45 minutes. So I would recommend with your timing as well that whenever you've got your timing, if you've got problematic resistant hair, increase it to 60 minutes. That extra 15 minutes time in depositing really helps, okay? So the best way to do it is run your comb along the hair, remove some of that color, and see if it's a little bit translucent or if you've got the coverage you're seeking. Yeah? Good?
Oh, all good.
Good. Okay, so what I've done here is I've actually done a little bit of a mock client. So whenever we're working with grey hair, guys, we need to address the head as it is. So if you've got a client that has 100% grey around the front and say 50% or less grey at the back, we have essentially 2 separate heads we're dealing with, okay? So this is our target, and I'll run you through this. Our target of this client here is a 7NB, and her natural level is a level 6. At the front here, we are 100% grey around the hairline, okay? So in the back, let's just say from an inch or two from the hairline, all the way back, just to keep it simple, we're 50% grey. My formula will depend on what I'm working with. So in here, I'm using mixing ratio 1:1, 7NB with 20 volt, our target being a 7NB. The reason is because in this grey area here, we want to deposit warmth. We want a natural warm, okay? And that's why we're going for the NBs. Now, from the back, what we want to do is we're going to be using 20 volt because, again, we're a natural level 6, so we need to lift up to 1 shade. Now, in lifting and lightening, we always encourage our lovely unwanted warmth to come to the surface and come to the party, unless we're going for brights, okay? And we're not in this case. So what I have done is I've actually altered my formula at the back, and I've chosen to go in with my 7NN plus 20 volt mixing ratio 1:1 because I want to neutralize and refine that unwanted warmth that will come through. Okay, so can everyone see why I have done that?
Sounds good to me.
Yeah.
Would you alter your timing for your sections, Carl?
I would start here. So always start when you're dealing with your grey hair, always start in your most resistant areas first. Okay, if I had a client that will say 100% grey all over, I would actually then start at the nape. Reason being is because this hair here is thicker in texture than what it is around the front. So remembering, guys, that colour is generally formulated for medium textured hair. So finer hair will lighten and darken quicker. So if it's 100% grey all over, but this front hairline is finer, it will go darker. And the last thing that you want to do is have this dark halo and have, like, you know, an uneven blend. Does that make sense?
Sure does.
Cool. All right, so let's talk about some tips, shall we? Does anyone want any tips? Does anyone have any tips that they want to put up as well? Go for
Shoot
it.
them through. We'd love to see.
Yeah. So our tips that I would recommend, and I'm probably going to sound like I'm on repeat again, but anyway, so our tips whenever I'm dealing with grey resistant hair is that I would always start in my most resistant areas first. Okay, so grey hair is resistant, it is tenacious, it is a pain sometimes to cover, so let's tackle that first. The reason being as well is then that has a longer timing in processing because we've started in that area first. Outside of that, I would then increase it again if I had really coarse, glassy grey hair that wasn't responding to my 45-minute timing. So remember, Age Defy is 45 minutes in processing. I would then extend my processing time to 60 minutes. Okay, so that's another little hot tip, is if you just that extra 15 minutes, seriously guys, makes a world of difference. It's really good. And then a good saturation. So I think sometimes when I am training, I see people and they be a little bit sparse with their application. We need a generous application. So if you've got a nice generous application, then you know that you're going to have a better chance and better coverage, guys. So please, go in, be generous with your application and make sure that you are going in with probably 1/8 of a section. So if your sections are too wide as well, you're not going to get that saturation penetrating to both sides. And I actually, whenever I do any tint, I will always apply to both sides when I'm doing my application, just to reassure that I have definitely not missed any areas. And then again, outside of that, if you're still finding you need a little bit more of a help and some assistance, we have our additive of our grey controller. Okay, and that will then help give you the kick and to nudge that grey hair along.
There was just a question there before, Carl. How do you best determine percentage of grey? What's your tip there?
Okay, so I actually, if you look in your shade guide, bear with me for 1 second. I'll see if I've got it in. No, oh, yes, perfect. This is what I prepared earlier. So if you see in your shade guides, you will have a level indication finder and a grey finder. And as it is represented here, this will help you identify how much percentage of grey is in the hair. So generally, if you can't do it quite visually and go, okay, that looks about 50, that looks about 25, you know, anything that's 75 gets counted as 100% grey. Okay, so 75 and above is 100% grey. So we don't need to get too particular with, you know, 76, 77, all right, in our percentages. But yeah, so that's how I would generally go off. And I find that for the newcomers into hairdressing, this simplifies it for you. Okay?
Great tool.
Yeah, it's a great tool. Definitely use it. And your shade guides, guys. Your level finder is brilliant as well because then you know what you're working with.
Now, another question.
Yeah.
So if you are doing highlights and grey coverage, do you prefer to do the foils first or the root application?
Okay, so whenever we're dealing with colour, let's break down and let's work out what is going to need the longest time. So I always look at, whenever I'm working on any model, I will look at, or client, I will think, okay, how long does this need to be on? So how long does my lightener need to be on as opposed to my base colour being for grey coverage? So generally speaking, to be honest, I would go off how many levels I'm needing to lighten and what I'm trying to achieve. If it's just a matter of, you know, lifting up to one level, I would go through and do my global application first for my grey coverage, and then I would go in and do my foils, only because I don't want to cause any damage to the hair. Yeah.
Awesome.
Cool. All right. So yeah, thanks guys. That's like the theory behind it. And now I know, as a hairdresser myself, people can talk until the cows come home, but I want to see it in action. So we've chosen a great client here today, which is Jane. She is actually a level 9-10. She's 100% grey. So in salon, we always get that client saying, how can we get, you know, coverage on a client that's on those levels? I guess sometimes their concern is, I always say, whenever you're dealing, you know, with a white wall and you're adding in pale lemon, is that going to scream at you? Okay, so obviously the darker we go, the more coverage we can get. Age Defy, again, is a natural grey coverage, and you're going to see it in action and see the beautiful shine and coverage you will get with Jane. So I'm going to walk you over. I will introduce you to Jane.
Over we go.
Okay, so this is our beautiful Jane.
Hello, how are you?
So as we can see, I will just get in here and I will show you. So remembering again, guys, my rule of, if we're dealing with 75% grey, we're dealing with 100. We can see here, sorry, Jane, but we can see here that we are dealing with like 100% grey. And again, we have our little inspection all over the head because the hair and I guess the distribution of grey can vary as well. But in Jane, we're actually quite consistent all over the head. The only place that we have a little bit more pigment, as you can see, is right down the back here in that hairline. And if you can even see with her, you know, her past colour, we can see that this has a little bit more warmth to it in comparison to at the front here. Yeah, can we see that?
Absolutely.
Yeah. Excellent. So what we're going to do is we're going to do Jane's hair. We're going to do a mixing ratio of 1:1. Our colour today is going to be 10 NB with 10 GB. I'm going to mix that on equal parts, and then I'm going to take a before and after shot and get back to you guys. Now, I won't bore you with me doing the application because you all know how to put on a tint. But what I will do is I want you to do a shout out to all of our socials. So if you guys can jump onto our Sabre C Education or Experience Forum, please post your work, please share and get everyone on board, because we really do want to make this a community where we can all converse and better ourselves, okay? Outside of that, we have upcoming events with Fudge, and that is with our beautiful Pauline. She's a superstar, so check her out. And that date is on
Tuesday next week.
Tuesday next week at 1 p.m. So
1 p.m. New South Wales. Oh, no, not 1 p.m. I beg your pardon.
Sorry.
Sorry. It is 6 p.m. New South Wales and Queensland, 4 p.m. WA, and 8 p.m. in New Zealand.
See, thank God I have Abby. So thank you so much for watching. I'm going to now put Jane's colour on. I will process for 45 to 60 minutes. I will tell you my processing time as well with the post photo. Is there anything else, guys, that we need to add?
No, I think we're all good.
Thank you all so much for your time. I really appreciate it. Thanks for your loyalty, and we'll see you in June.
We'll see you real soon.
Yeah.
And thank you, Jane.
Bye.
Thank you.